everybody. How you doing out there? Welcome to Real World Recovery, episode 7.
It is, isn't it?
I think so. Which means that we've been doing this for 2 whole months now.
Yeah,
That's kind of wild, man.
that is.
Yeah. Did we recently hit 100 hours, didn't we?
Something like that, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just the shorts, like the long form content, which is cool, which means you guys are enjoying it, or at least somebody is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's awesome.
But that's pretty awesome.
Consistency's key, man.
Yeah. So we're actually recording this on a Friday so that there's less pressure to get it edited and out for you guys on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to be a positive change for both of our anxiety.
Yes, and hopefully it will mean an improvement in quality of content as well, because fingers crossed, it will mean that we may have figured out the multiple camera angle situation.
Yeah. So it reminds me of this thing Isaac Newton did. He called it the 3-camera problem.
yeah, I think that's exactly what he did. Yeah, it's
So yeah, hopefully that's sorted. We'll find out. If you guys are seeing me as a cut close up right now, you'll know that Brett and I have solved the issue, and I've learned how to edit it down like that.
I didn't do anything.
You did. You bought a third camera.
Yeah, that's all I did.
And then you set it up.
Yeah,
Which was nice.
yeah. Other than that,
So for you guys out there, Brett is setting everything up every week, and I know in my heart that he wants to do it himself, so he knows it's done the way he wants it done. But today I felt a pang of guilt, and so I'm like, I should probably at least ask if he wants some help. And immediately it's just like, if something breaks then it's on me and la la la, and I'm just
Well, so interesting side note,
uh-huh.
and you already know the backstory here, but I came home last night after our meeting, and I told my partner, I said, well, I have good news and I have bad news. Because the grocery store list that I was to pick up consisted of one item, which was some cookie dough, some pre-made cookie dough. And they had one tub of it left at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, the good news is I got the last tub of the cookie dough that you wanted.
Uh-huh.
The bad news, which is actually also good news for you, is that
It was sugar free.
no,
Dang. That would have been really good news.
you're not the first you're not going to be the first person to have put a ding in the new car.
Oh.
Because I get that badge.
Yeah.
Because in the snow and sleet and ice and
it was
everything
stupid.
yesterday, I had the most slow motion.
Slide into something
Slide
ever. Oh, God,
ever.
Those are the worst.
It couldn't have been more than like 1 or 2 miles an hour
Yeah.
tops, and it was like, are we gonna stop?
Yeah, you can
Are
feel
we-
the
are-
ADS going like.
It literally was like slow motion camera wouldn't have slowed it down anymore. And it was like, and that was it. But it was enough to put a scratch on one of the rims of the car. But
Good
thankfully,
news.
we also bought the rim replacement insurance.
Well,
So,
it's already paying for itself.
100%.
Which
I mean,
that's what it's there for.
yeah.
We all know how insurance companies like to work, so.
Well, but when you get a brand new car, you pay as much as we did for.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what?
You could have bought a house for what you paid for your car like 10 years ago.
Maybe,
a crappy house.
Maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. Yeah. got approved for my student loan finally, so that's in the bag. Speaking of
Nice.
spending lots of money.
Yeah. There's an edit.
I mean, yeah, okay. I did some more research on that. It is apparently 6 minutes,
Ah.
but that's subjective. So like no hard swearing, purposeful, talking about
Oh.
certain issues
Gotcha.
within the first 6 minutes or
Gotcha.
so. But then it's like it kind of depends on how close it is to the commercial breaks.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I mean?
And
So for those of you who don't have YouTube Premium, the average commercial break on YouTube is at 8 minutes right now. If your video is only like 8-9 minutes long, it will be dead set in the middle, so like 4 minutes. But longer form content like this, it's closer to 8 minutes.
interesting.
So yes, I will have to edit that out.
Cool. Well, that's fun. That's fun.
But I mean, like editing
We're
the
teaching-
swear words is easy.
We're teaching YouTube school here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody like has got to do it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there's not anybody else doing videos.
So
on
I'm on I joined the YouTubers Reddit, and that is a place of braggadocio and also sorrow.
that. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. Why am I not famous yet?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are on there who are like, "Oh, I've been recording content for 6 months now, and I only have 200 subscribers, and I've only got like 200 hours of watch time," and it's like, and there are so many people out there who are creating content for like fitness or like travel, and so like everybody's trying to do a travel vlog, and it's like, okay, yes, those are popular. However, if you're not engaging personality wise, and you're just like, oh, watch me and my wife go on vacation to Mexico, nobody cares.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
but I think, this also goes back to what I was talking about, where instead of setting external goals,
Right.
where it's like you don't have any control over
Whether or not somebody
how many
watches your
people
content.
are going to subscribe to your channel
know.
or watch your content, then you're immediately setting yourself up for disappointment and discouragement and all of that.
Right.
If instead all you focused on was being consistent, doing the work, and making the best content you can,
Yeah.
and that's
Speaking of another thing that we're doing to try to make the best content we can, after listening back to so much audio on us, the 2 microphone system is good, but we added the pop filters in too, because
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that is just going to get rid of some artifact that I keep hearing in there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping anyway.
or
It
for
should.
some folks that are in Minnesota, I think it's a soda filter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think they say
Fago
pop.
filter.
I don't think they say pop. Or down south, it's a Coke filter.
Does it filter out the Juggalo?
Isn't everything? Don't they call everything down south a Coke?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So it's a Coke filter.
A root beer Coke?
I mean, I've
Clear Coke is a
I
Sprite.
haven't ever experienced that. So like when I lived in the South, I was in Texas, but it was like South Texas. And then my experience with Florida is South Florida. And so I think that like I haven't been to the section of the country where that would be a thing.
Yeah, I can't say that I've experienced firsthand, but I've heard enough people
Yeah,
say it.
anecdotally, I've heard it
yeah,
all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty wild.
anywho,
For those of you out here who are from out there, not in here,
yeah,
who aren't from Wisconsin, here they call it a bubbler instead of a water fountain.
it's true.
Do you know why that is?
I don't.
Okay, so the first like large scale manufacturer of water fountains was a company named Bubbler, and it was located here in Neenah, Wisconsin.
Huh.
Which is why here in Wisconsin they call it a bubbler, because every water fountain used to say bubbler on it.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. That is something you can't unlearn.
Nice.
Or you. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to get used to three cameras.
That's fun.
Yeah. So this week, before that, how was your week?
It was good, man. Yeah, finished up that contracting gig.
Mm-hmm.
Actually finished it up early. That we were ahead of schedule.
So did you get paid for the entirety of the contract, or was it hourly?
No, it was hourly. But I was asked to come back and do an additional week after
After the holiday.
So
Beautiful.
and I told them I would, but it would have to be Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, because TR.
Yes, but
And this.
more importantly, the Friday live stream.
Right. Oh, okay.
Not that my volunteering stuff is not important. I just
Sure.
wanted to be able to continue doing. I prefer to do those live.
Yeah.
I like the live format for that. Being able to be available in real time for questions.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the idea of that becoming a, Q&A platform.
Sure.
I don't want it to be a lecture. I want it to become more of a interactive thing.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I think that it has the potential to be more beneficial. I think to
I would agree. I think that
be kind of more open
anytime
forum.
somebody can be like, so what would you do here? Well, like earlier today, I mean, I came in and I'm like, bro, what do I do with this 401k?
Yeah.
Like, wait, can I put it somewhere and not screw myself on taxes? La la.
Yeah.
And that's a great question for somebody to ask in the live stream.
Yeah.
Which I was shoveling, so I'm sorry I didn't watch it.
Oh, it's all good, man. Life comes first.
I will watch it because I've got to make shorts. I apologize for the lack of shorts content this week, guys. I have a really great idea for one, and I can't find a fair use copy of this commercial that I'm looking for to steal. And it turns out you can't use OBS to record YouTube.
Yeah, you can.
Not the way I wanted it to.
You might be able to.
It mutes it. Nah, I did quite a bit of it. You gotta, and I'm just not gonna jump through all the hoops and go on GitHub and la la la. It's just not.
Might be able to.
I don't know. For me to borrow like 4 seconds of a commercial, I'm just gonna go around it in a different way. It's gonna require more editing, but I'll make it work in the end.
Yeah. I believe in you.
Well, I'm glad somebody does.
What are we going to talk about today?
We were going to talk about accountability a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, man. Let's get weird.
Okay, perfect. So, what does accountability look like to you?
I mean, I think accountability is kind of unique for everybody. I think that it's in a lot of ways. I think that it's one of those things that kind of just goes along with what everybody else's recovery journey looks like, and I think underpinning it is at its core honesty and transparency, and both outwardly and inwardly.
Yeah,
and
which is the harder of the two sometimes.
It is. It is because, and especially early on, like it's hard to be honest and transparent when you're in that brain fog.
Yeah,
like
maybe
I don't know up from down. Like I don't know what I'm even feeling. Right? Like, so what are you gonna do? You put one foot in front of the other, and
yeah. Well,
and I think though that's where like the that honesty, though, can still play a part, because as long as then you're honest with somebody else and you say, I don't know,
Right.
right? Like, get a hold of a friend, a sponsor, whoever, and just, hey man, I'm struggling or whatever it is.
And
Got-
tell them.
Yeah,
Yeah. And be like, hey, like, I can't do this today.
right.
Like, what, how do, you know. And I think that, um, early on in my recovery, I didn't know what accountability was. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, when I was in active addiction, it was like, it didn't, my accountability was to the narcotics. It was like I had to be participating in that. But because there was no responsibility, there was no, nothing was my fault. Nothing was, you know,
Oh, yeah.
everything else was somebody doing something to me. Everything was, you know, you see what God just did to me, man.
Yeah.
And then like it was, that first step of being, telling myself that, like, look, man, you've got a real problem here, and if you don't deal with it, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to think one day when you thought you'd already be gone. You didn't really, we've said this before, you didn't really plan for it to make it this far, let alone doing a podcast about it. But
Right.
um, that first little bit of like telling the people around you, like, okay, like, this has been a shit show. I really appreciate that you've stuck by me enough that I'm not completely alone. I need to do something about this. And I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm going to put my best attempt into figuring it out. And so like when I moved into the sober house, it was really easy because I was accountable to that die roll every day.
Yep.
Your number comes up, man, you got a UA, and like la la la. And it was easier for me in that setting because, you know, there was no cheating.
Yeah.
Your number could come up any day of the week, and
Yeah.
if it does, then you're on the hook. And then there was, the relationships that I developed with my housemates, where it was another layer of, hey, how you doing today? Are you like, you know, I didn't miss work, but like, if like that was the case, we'd be like, hey, you okay? You didn't make it to work today. There's a lot of like really interpersonal, stuff there where it didn't seem like accountability at the time,
Sure.
but it definitely was,
Sure.
you know?
So, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand with, there's a lot of, as things go on, I think that we get, along with that accountability, we get a lot more and more autonomy,
Yeah.
and that, I think, is not only earned, but
You kind of grow into even feeling comfortable doing it.
yeah, but I think that kind of needs to be the default that we grant others.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, I didn't necessarily trust myself, but the way that I got there was because the people that I was leaning on in my early recovery, the people that I was like reaching out to for help, granted me that autonomy to figure it out.
Right.
They trusted me to like say, you got this. Like, I knew they were there, but they weren't like babysitting me and
Right.
like, you know, critiquing every single little thing. And I wasn't worried that they were going to tell me that I was like doing something wrong. You know, so like then I started to feel okay with my own sense of figuring it out.
Right.
And so that I think is kind of what I mean by that. And so like when I'm talking with folks that are early on, you know, and coming up behind me, you know, I try to remember like to not rob them of that experience of
Right.
kind of authentically
Figuring out how to do it for yourself.
redeveloping that
Mm-hmm.
sense of autonomy for themselves
Right.
by being accountable to themselves and the other people that they're putting their trust in. And you know, I think that that's like one of the strongest ways that they like, at least for me, like that's how I really like built up a sense of self-worth and, you know, regained a lot of that confidence and kind of was able to walk a little taller and felt better about talking about my experience. And by doing so, you know, by being open about what I was going through and you know, the ups and downs and
Mm-hmm.
and even just the the mundane, just the like it's another day.
Yeah.
You know, like not everything is
Exciting.
newsworthy.
Yeah.
Like most of it's not.
Yeah.
Most of it's just I woke up today and felt like meh.
Right.
And then I went to work and it was and the people there kind of were meh. And I had an okay lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. How okay was it?
Eh.
Yes.
And I got done with work on time.
Yeah.
And traffic didn't suck. And then I got home.
Mm-hmm.
And there were sports on TV.
Sure, but I know that you turned that off and put on The Office. I mean,
But, you know, like,
I do.
that was a whole day.
Yeah, it's many days.
And guess what? I went to bed clean.
No.
And I woke up the next day and did it again. Like, it didn't make headlines. Most people didn't care. And that's fine.
All right.
But you know what? Like, I still shared that. Because,
Okay.
you know, somebody might have needed to, like,
Right.
that might have been the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it wasn't. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and point is that that's me being accountable to me.
Is
Like-
still having that conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need any feedback on it. Right? Like, because I know that I was accountable to me for that completely mundane day. But just in case there was another soul somewhere
That needed to
that was
identify
having
with
a
it.
worse than mundane day
Yeah.
and needed to know that it's okay to have a mundane day and it's fine and you'll get through it. Great. And if nobody needed to hear that, well, fine. But I got through it.
I mean, yeah.
Like,
Everybody does eventually.
and same with the great days, same with the crap days. Like, I I made it a point to be open about it through from start to fit, like all the way through. And it that was something that I decided early on, and something that was told to me very early on was that we recover out loud so
Yeah.
that no one else has to suffer silently. And it's one of those things that, you know, it's becomes one of those, you know, mantras or mottos, or, you know, call it whatever you want, but, you know, it's something that, you know, kind of guides everything else that I try to do. So.
Yeah. So, you know, in a way, let me go back a second. So, like when I was in early recovery, I absolutely needed to have those conversations with people every day. That's why you know the Oxford House was so great for me, because it was like built-in peer support. You know what I mean? I mean, you had that with your sponsor, and I'm sure other friends, eventually your partner. But there was like a spot where, you know, the switch kind of flipped, and then like the understanding of the honesty with myself became more important than, you know, I mean, it became more important to me to be alone and be okay with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So like when I have a bad day, I don't necessarily go and talk about it to anybody because there's no one around. I'm alone the vast majority of the time. Um, but it's like that conversation with myself in the head when I'm driving past, you know, the liquor store, like a couple years ago when I drive past the liquor store, where it's like, hey, you have your own apartment, you can do whatever you want. And it was like in those moments where I'm like, you know how that ends, where it's like you're like, I'm holding myself accountable for my past actions, and knowing that alcohol specifically was the catalyst to the vast majority of the things in my life that I don't necessarily regret, but I'm not proud of. We'll put it that way. So I think that, like, reflecting upon it, like, I'm really grateful that I had my brothers at the Jordan House, in the early days. And it sounds to me like very much you were grateful to have your sponsor in those meetings. I know you were during COVID, so it's even rougher because you're FaceTiming everybody. But you know, I never really had a sponsor like that. I've always been like, it's always been a therapist and like a group of peers. Like maybe I didn't realize how hard I was like leaning on my peers for a while there. Maybe it seems more apparent to me now. but yeah, I think that personally, like my ability to have the conversation with myself about where those roads lead has made it a lot easier. And I don't know, is that accountability?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You know, ultimately, like for me, it just comes back to, you know, those two things, just that, you know, honesty and transparency,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and and then, you know, if we want to roll, you know, some actual steps in it, you know, a 10th step,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I mean,
actually like,
even if you do not subscribe to 12 step, I highly recommend living 10, 11, 12.
and
You know?
and I mean, taking the actual numbers out of it, I think that that's just, you know,
Yeah,
good practice for living a good life.
sure.
And I think you'll find that in a lot of, you know,
Which, for those of you out there who don't know, it would be, you know, honesty, accountability would be, you know, 10, then 11 would be, you know, spirituality, get to know yourself. And then 12 would be paying it forward.
yeah,
So just, you know, any chance you can get to help up another person,
right.
you should do it.
Yeah.
So,
And, you know, I think that that's, there's a lot of, you know, common themes there among a lot of different philosophies and religions and things
So-
like that. So, you know, I don't think that that's exclusive to any 12-step program or anything like that. So, like, I
right.
think, you know, but to bring it into context of, you know, a 12-step program, you know, I think it is, you know, accountability specifically does pretty much tie very clearly in with, you know,
10.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
honesty, transparency, and a 10th step.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much your
Uh-huh.
bundle there. So,
This is driving me nuts. I noticed you centering that. We can go back to the conversation now. For those of you who didn't notice,
yeah, yep,
you have to go back a little ways. It's been, you know,
yep,
that's one of those instances where the voice in the back of my head got louder and louder and louder. It's like, just say something, please.
yep,
And I'm like, fine.
yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
here we are.
Different voice, but it made me sound
Yeah,
right.
no, I know. Well, I was in awe of how slick you did it, where you're just like, you know, you're like making a point. And you're like,
yeah, yeah,
that's great.
yep.
Anyway, we're here for some fantastic content, you guys. You're
Yeah, man.
welcome.
Hey, welcome to a lifetime of OCD.
So, do you think that you and I, but we both do this? Do you think you and I do service work and other kind of volunteering stuff? Is that that's part of our accountability, right? Our accountability to the program and to the community.
Yeah,
Do you view
yeah.
it that way?
I mean, yes, but I think it, in a way, it's being accountable to our community, but you know, I think it's just. I think that it goes beyond accountability. I think that the next logical thing after that honesty and transparency, and then, you know, always kind of taking our own inventory, and, you know, if we're wrong and we make a mistake, we admit it. The next logical step is actively trying to do good and not make mistakes, right?
Right.
Doing the next right thing,
Yeah.
and trying to live in a way that is positive and is demonstrating the things that we have learned and the that practices recovery, right? So it's the same with it, so it's the same with any other kind of in my opinion, any other kind of,
Were you gonna say system?
well, I guess it could be a system, but any any
Like
kind
a
of
fitness plan?
any kind of philosophy that is more than just a pen and ink philosophy, right? Anything more than just uh, for the educators, right? Somebody that will just sit and be able to read and discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Something that actually can be put to practical use.
Okay.
So it's a practice. It's something that must be done
Yeah.
and done repeatedly.
And is never perfected. That's why they call it practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And same with recovery. Right? So it's why we say progress, not perfection, because it is a practice. We have to put the things into practice. We have to actually do the things. We have to do the work.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is just the next piece after accountability, is to then go practice recovery.
Right.
And part of that is to help.
Yeah.
And
It might be the best part about recovery.
and it would be ridiculous to think that it would stop with me. If the only person that I should help is me. Like, that doesn't seem like a good program then.
Right.
So, and I have a hard time believing on an even bigger, if we want to really get and wax philosophic, I have a hard time believing that as a species that we were so successful
As a group.
evolutionarily speaking,
Yeah. As a group. Individuality
by
doesn't serve purpose.
doing anything other than benefiting others as our main function.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. I think that's why so many of us are lost nowadays, probably. And it's because that's our society has moved away from, you're supposed to, nowadays you're suspicious of your neighbors, lock your doors, hide your kids, hide your wife,
But if I'm, I mean, if if I can benefit others, and if everybody else
does their best to benefit others.
does their best to benefit others.
Can you imagine what life would be like nowadays?
But shy of like the last
150 years.
150 years, that's what
Yeah, it was.
we did. And we did great like leaps and bounds.
Yep.
And then, I mean,
Rugged individualism.
yeah. And I mean, there's, also major advancements in other things, but
Sure.
so that's a different conversation. But y- you know, I think, the very zoomed out lens is, you know, that's
Well,
why I, you know,
all of the major religions, that's literally what they're teaching. All of the,
yeah,
you know, I'm not going to name names, but you guys, the prophets. You guys know the prophets. You know the prophets. Um, you know, all of it was, as the ravers say, plur, peace, love, unity, and respect. And we don't have that as a society anymore. At least not here in the United States. I mean, I'm sure there's still places in the world, little bastions of hope, but you know, I think it's unfortunate that we're put into this box where we're expected to do it on our own. Like, at least from a societal perspective, I think that, like, when I first went to treatment and I got there, like, all the people in my life were like, you need to quit, you need to quit, you need to quit, you need to quit. And it's like, okay, like, how do I do that? You know what I mean? How do I just, like, people like to act like you can just turn it off. Like, oh, well, you got yourself into the mess. Like, just don't drink today. Like, okay, yeah, you think I haven't thought of that? Like, come on, man. And I didn't really realize, I think that, like, that's maybe why it didn't stick with me at first, because I didn't really buy into the community. I didn't. I still thought that
yeah,
I can do this.
right,
Like, yeah, I didn't drink today. Perfect.
yeah.
I just won't tomorrow.
Um,
You know what I would say to a person who said that to me now? I would say, let me know how that works out.
yeah,
Oh, and I can remember this dude specifically from the First Step House there in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who said that to me, like, directly. It's like, oh, okay. Let me know how that works out.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the answer now, guys. That's why now I'm the one who says it.
Yep,
And that's the whole paying it forward thing.
yeah,
I mean, like, the reality of it is like, just like me, that person might not want to quit, but I just put, he put into my head that the answer already. Now I have the opportunity to put that into somebody else's head, where it's like, the answer already. Like, asking me is, thinking you're gonna get it. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah,
I don't know what that has to do with accountability, but I think that it has to do with the whole, community thing, and, like, paying it forward.
yeah. Uh, Agreed. And I mean, you know, uh, uh, be, accountability, crosses
So many
all of
lines.
that.
Yeah.
Because you are accountable to that community, especially in a sober living house. You're accountable to everybody you live with. I'm accountable to my partner. I live here.
Mm-hmm.
So does she. I'm accountable on admittedly a bit of a lesser scale to everybody else that lives in this building.
Sure.
Even if I don't know them all by name, I mean,
why not?
Well, that's a great question, but
I'm so sorry.
but I mean, for whatever reason, we haven't met, or
Yeah.
it, hasn't worked out that way. But we do all occupy the same building, so, like,
It's true.
if I make a absolutely stupid decision, like I was very prone to back in the day,
Yeah.
I could potentially set the building on fire, or who knows? Like,
I am so lucky that
that's not even theoretical.
That I have never.
That's not even hypothetical. There was a building I lived in that caught fire.
Was it your fault?
No, but
But yeah.
thankfully,
I've
I was
never,
one of.
I've
I was the
never
only person
unintentionally
still
set a building
awake.
on fire.
I was the only person still awake, thankfully, at whatever time it was in the morning that all 8 or 9 of us in the house, I ran through the house, woke everybody up, and got everybody out of the house.
Nice.
And so it was like 8 or 9 people, 2 dogs, a cat, and our baby alligator all made it out alive.
I mean, you're a hero.
No, I just happened to be the person that was awake.
Yeah.
And panicked enough to run through the house and make sure everybody was like out.
Can we go back just a little bit? Baby alligator.
Yeah, Fluffy.
Did it become a grown ass alligator?
I mean, I would imagine.
Is there more to that story, or are we just gonna leave it there?
I don't know what happened to Fluffy after
Why
many years.
why is that but why were you living with an alligator? Were you in
my-
Florida?
No,
was
my-
that up here?
That was here. My roommate had a pet alligator.
That seems irresponsible.
Welcome to my mid to late 20s.
I mean, it's funny because I feel like I know people who would have done the same thing when I had a pet alligator.
We also had a rescue cat that was like maybe, I mean, not
so
even.
how do you have cats and alligators in the same house? That seems like
They
a
were like
recipe.
They were like besties. Fluffy lived in a terrarium,
Okay.
and we fed him like little bits of hot dog and. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this little rescue cat was it was all black, and so we named her Darkness.
I mean, that makes
But
sense.
the nickname was Jack Bauer
Okay.
because this was when 24 was
Yeah.
still,
Oh, yeah.
you know, a show that
I
came
mean,
out every
the
week.
first 2 seasons were great. After that, it was kind of mid.
True, but
yeah.
man,
What did we used to do? We used to play a drinking game, and it was good for getting blackout. But every time he said something, I can't remember what is it.
Damn
that
it.
Yeah, that might be it.
because it was the only thing you could say on network TV
yeah,
because they
Fox.
wouldn't let you swear.
Anyway,
He used to say it all the
I
time.
remember the beginning of a lot of episodes.
Throughout the series, I think they said he said it like 200 and some times throughout the series
Nice.
because you couldn't swear, so that was the only thing they'd let him say.
I remember when. Never mind. I'm not gonna even say that out loud.
Yeah, probably better.
Yeah.
But yeah, yep,
Nah.
that was a wild one, man. That was in like February or something like that, so it was like bitter cold. We all middle of the night had to get out, and I remember they had like 4 or 5 city buses that maybe not that many buses, but they pulled up like a city bus or something like that, and we all had to sit in the bus to stay warm, and they had a bunch of like
Oh, weird.
fire trucks that blocked off the entire city block. Like it was like, it was wild, man. That was
Was it a total loss?
no, but like most of our stuff was toast because our apartment was the top 2 floors. But yeah, that was wild.
Good times.
That was wild, man.
Yeah. I don't think that I don't think I've ever been inside a burning building.
Yeah, that was what happened was the ceiling fan, the exhaust fan in the 3rd floor bathroom shorted.
Okay.
And
And it was full of fluff and junk. 'cause
all
it
of
hadn't
the
been cleaned
attic
out.
caught fire and was like smoldering, and I went up to use the bathroom, and the door was shut, and there was like, I saw
The flames, the
no,
smoke.
well, like I saw a light underneath the door, but I grabbed the handle. It wasn't like hot or anything. I opened the door, and there's like a piece of the ceiling tile on the floor. was like, what the heck? And I looked up. Sure enough,
Fire.
well, it wasn't fire yet, but when I opened the door,
Lots of room to breathe.
I gave it plenty of air, and all of a sudden it went up. And yep, that's when I realized what had happened, and I ran through the house. I shut the door, but I ran through the house and woke everybody up, and it's like, we got to get out of here.
What a great story.
That was wild, man. So, yep.
I mean, way to be accountable to your roommates.
Yeah. We'll bring it back to that.
Yeah, I mean, may as well.
That was yeah. That was an event that happened.
Is there any habits that you've developed, like accountability checks for yourself?
I mean, I think just, having a routine. And I really think that, and I preach on it a lot, is just developing systems, and sticking with them, and having routines has been very good for me. Get up, even if it's not like wake up in the morning to go to work, I still am up early, most days, and I still try to get up. Most mornings, what I've started trying to do is, before I ever do anything on my phone, I read something. Have one of the things that I really liked was, I read about a number of these high achievers and thought leaders and stuff that all shared a similar morning routine that was kind of referred to as just puttering. And
Okay.
so what they do is just kind of like spend their first hour, however long,
Yeah.
nondescript amount of time, but just
Not really, feeling pressed to accomplish anything.
exactly,
Yeah.
just
Oh, I live
Just-
that way. Yeah.
just doing whatever it is, reading, making breakfast, make coffee, just kind of do whatever for whatever amount of time, and then not actually like getting into the serious work until well into the morning.
Yeah, after you've had a chance to wake up.
And
Because otherwise, what are you doing?
and
You're not going to be able to focus.
right. And and trying to do less. And that doesn't mean accomplish less. It just means to filter the noise,
Yeah.
and it's like that 80-20 rule. 80% of your productivity comes from 20% of your work.
Is that true?
Yeah, the 80-20 rule, man, like it applies to a lot of stuff. But
I mean, that sounds right.
yeah,
I mean, especially if you consider our last job.
well, but like, so if you make a list of, your top 10 things you want to get done that day,
Right.
get rid of the bottom 8. And then those top 2, those are like where 80% of your effort should go. Like, because that's where you're gonna get the most results from,
I
or
see.
whatever. Like, however you want to apply it. But like that, the 80-20 rule is a really good kind of guide for not getting burnt out, basically.
Okay.
And not feeling overwhelmed with I've got so much to do. It's like, well, do less and get more out of the effort you're putting into stuff. And
I mean, that's how I try to live my life, man.
yeah, so and I'm trying to be more focused on expressing my feelings better. I've always been the person who didn't really open up.
Bottles everything.
Not so much bottles, but
Just not sharing it.
yeah, I've never really placed a lot of value on
Emotional investment.
speaking at length about feelings,
Okay.
like, because they're fleeting.
Right.
I have always just felt them and then moved on.
Okay.
But
Did you though?
that's the thing. That's the thing. Is that was always what I told myself. But
Sure.
when you're not good at dealing with those feelings, when there's unresolved emotions and especially unresolved trauma, which is what led me into all of my addiction, continued addiction,
Well, and
excessive use,
and poor life decisions,
avoidance,
in general.
and excessive, attention seeking, and people, like, all of the things. The feelings didn't get dealt with.
Sure.
And so that's still one of those things for me that is a challenge. But,
So, is that a way of holding yourself accountable to your peers? Being more open about how you're feeling about things?
It is, I think.
I mean, I don't necessarily include myself in that statement because you're going to tell me how you feel regardless. But we have a...
Yes, to an extent. What I think it more so is, I've gotten better at recognizing the boundaries that I need to set, who I'm going to let in, and I realized that not everybody should know, gets to know, because a lot of people don't care.
Right.
And so it's unfair to just assume that somebody even wants to know. So really it's kind of a selfish thing for me to be like, here's all of my feelings.
I mean,
you need to care about this. When they don't.
I guess I wasn't really referring to trauma dumping, but
like, but so like that's one thing. So setting my own boundaries, recognizing someone else's, and then, but what it is for accountability for me is specifically, I feel like it's helped in my relationship, and I've got a long way to go. thankfully she's amazing, and she's far more emotionally intelligent than I am, and far more patient than I probably deserve about the work that I still need to do with my emotions and being able to express them. But you know, we have a good thing, and I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm lucky. So that's it's
Yeah, I
fun to
love
be
that
able
for
to
you.
it's fun to be able to do that work and have somebody that you know
Yeah, is willing to participate
yeah um
and help you learn.
yeah so
Sure.
and
Real quick, I want to go back. You almost said people pleaser, and I love this meme that's going around right now where it's like, oh, you're a people pleaser? Name one person who's pleased with you.
yeah
Ha!
yeah I mean there's probably one or two somewhere, but I haven't been keeping a list.
Well, I mean, it's just a funny meme.
Yeah,
It's funny because it's true.
there is.
Uh,
There's funny memes out there.
I mean, I've gotten rid. So I
It's our form of what, like cave paintings and stuff now.
right.
So we're
Um.
full circle.
So meme actually was coined as a phrase, um, for genetics, and it was memory gene, and so it's a piece of your DNA that has the like memory of past um, versions of itself going back farther. So it allows it's got pieces in there that can see where certain mutations or whatever weren't useful, and so where those were cut out and all that, and it's really interesting bit of history there. And so the reason why it became applied to stuff on the internet is that memes is a way of us expressing a core memory that most of us have in a way that most of us can relate to. And so that's why memes are memes. I'm just full of fun facts today, guys.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's coming with the heat.
yeah. You're knocking it out of the park.
You know what I was thinking would be fun, is if, like, going forward, you and I picked a word that not everybody uses, but we think is a fantastic word, or a word that people use but probably the wrong way, and then we kind of just like loosely defined it. Each pick one. Could be something fun. I don't know if you've got one on the top of your head. I don't mean to put you on the spot like that, but I was thinking earlier today the word finicky is a really great word. You know, most of us think of it as like picky, as in like they're like my child is a finicky eater. But I like it better when you're referring to like temperamental machinery. Like the snowblower today was very finicky. It would start but not run continuously. And really, so I love using it in that context where it's like, okay, it's not that it's picky, it's that there is a basic problem with its function. It's temperamental. It wants certain conditions to work right, which I guess is picky, but I don't know. That's my fun one. I don't know if you have one. I think people should use it more. Finicky. It's just fun to say.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
You know another one that I've been using a lot lately?
I don't.
Lackadaisical.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Mm.
I can dig that one too.
Yeah, that's a good word. Lackadaisical means like lazy, but in a more like I don't feel like it than just like I'm not gonna. It's like, yeah, I just really don't.
Yeah, it's more
know.
intentional.
It's very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like I'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, there's time.
Right. Like, what's the rush?
Um, where are we at? We're like right at an hour, probably. Maybe a little
Something
longer.
like that. Yeah.
I think that was a good conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I can dig
Is
it.
there anything that you want to know from me?
So I mean, we've talked before, and I know you've brought up before, but when it comes to uh, professional therapy,
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of accountability,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it has a value add, or is it
End all be all.
lessens the accountability because it's in a professional sense, or is it no different?
So I don't.
And like, what are your thoughts on
So therapy.
that relationship?
Therapy, in order to be used appropriately, you have to be doing work. Um, and I don't mean by like, you know, going in. It's real similar, in my opinion, to people in 12 step doing a fourth step. Like, write down the stuff that's going on in your head when it's actually affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't just go in and bitch about getting cut off in traffic on your way over,
Right.
or the lady at the grocery store. You have to like go in with like a plan. And I didn't do that for my entire, I bet, you know, I was in therapy like my whole life. You know, I haven't been this past year, but that's mainly an insurance thing more than it's not like, you know, you get off the Badger care and all of a sudden nothing
Right.
nothing's free anymore. um Going back on. Nice. Anyway, writing things down when they were bothering me, that was the game changer. So in a lot of ways it was like accountability to myself to use the resource properly. And I think that, like, you know, people who are like in 12 step or have a recovery coach, that's a really good way of setting that like neediness, like accountability. Therapy is more to me an add-on. That's like something you're doing to do the work that it takes to get your mental space in a space where you can hold yourself accountable and not like you feel pressure, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's what it is a lot in early recovery. You feel pressure to be accountable. And I think that therapy or like fourth step work, any of that like more like inward looking stuff is what gets you to a point where it doesn't feel pressured to be accountable. You just are, you know, which I think is like your point of many of the things you were saying earlier is like you can just have to be accountable in a generalized sense, you know, like it's to yourself, to, you know, a higher power, the community, to all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, you know, I'm fond of saying that, you know, you should, to people in early recovery, and this really applies to anybody out there who, you know, is going to see a therapist maybe for the first time, or, you know, even if you've been seeing a therapist for your whole life, get a therapist, and for the first time in your life, don't fucking lie. Don't lie. And that goes right back to the beginning, like, okay, like, you know, honesty and openness. Like, I know so many people who have gone to therapy, myself included. I was one of those people for 20 years probably, where it's like, you know, yes, this is a really great resource for me to bitch about like what my ex-wife is doing at home that's driving me nuts. It's like that wasn't solving any problem.
Right.
That wasn't you know. And then when you know, I go through the divorce, I'm in therapy and I'm just like, no, everything's fine. Like, it will be okay, you know. And these are false. It's patently false.
Right.
You know, of course I'm heartbroken. Of course, like, this has messed up everything about like how I view my situation and everything else. And then it's like to just pretend that none of that happened. You know, it's ridiculous. And I think that going into it from a recovery mindset, like, going into therapy like you weren't a raging alcoholic is not, it's counterproductive to like figuring out why you felt the need to be a raging alcoholic in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's an add-on, if that's the way you want me to frame it, which I think is kind of what you're looking for. I think that it is part of a multifaceted approach. The other thing I like to say when people say, well, should I get a therapist or a sponsor? I mean, generally the answer is both. I mean, if that's what you're choosing to do, if you're choosing to, become, part of that process, then yeah, if you aren't in 12 step, get a recovery coach. Your
Yeah.
insurance will cover it. And like for those of you who don't know what a recovery coach is, it's just somebody who is there for you when you need them. It's a buddy who can help you with resources. Oh, I don't know where to get a therapist. They know where to get a therapist.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how to fill out this form. Okay, like let
Yeah.
me show you how to do these things.
Yeah.
And, you get a therapist because you pay a therapist to keep their fucking mouth shut.
Right.
They're like a lawyer for your emotions.
Yeah.
If used correctly, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to use them correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss therapy. But, we'll get back there. It'll be okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think that the farther I get away from active addiction, the more I feel like that I'm strong enough to keep myself from making bad decisions. But I have no illusions that I can't do it without my community of people around me who are also in a spot where they can not make bad decisions. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I guess that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah.
My accountability in general.
Yeah.
My other accountability is to the bank for a car note. You know that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just generally, you gotta eat. Be accountable to your body. Don't starve yourself. Don't. I'm looking at you, Mitchell, while you're editing this. Don't starve yourself. Like.
Yeah.
No, I don't though. But I did for a long time because like I would rather spend my food money on alcohol or
Yeah.
cocaine.
Yeah.
I might have to bleep that too, but
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Eat your food. Go out and get some exercise. Touch grass, as the kids say.
Mm-hmm.
And, take that walk in the woods to clear your mind. And then call your recovery coach. Call your sponsor.
Yep.
If you have a therapist like that, call your therapist. And talk about what you've discovered when you spent that time alone with yourself.
Yeah.
That's how you unpack all that.
Agreed.
How's your water?
It's good.
Black cherry, huh?
Yeah.
Mine is peach for you guys out there. Yeah, I mean,
I dig it.
I'm just out here trying to figure it out like everybody else,
Same.
and I think that that's the real beauty in it. Not forcing yourself to feel pressured pressured to be what you think everybody else needs you to be, and just being what you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the freedom I found.
Yep.
Also accountability.
Yeah, man. It's just, yeah. Like I said, honesty, transparency, and both inward and outward. Like, and then
And don't kink shame when somebody tells you, when they're honest with you.
well, and I think that the other part of it too is that granting other people that autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
And that's kind of what I meant.
yeah, and not punishing the behavior that you want to see, you know, not, and by that I mean not saying like that they're doing something wrong if they're not, you know, because most mistakes
Mm-hmm.
aren't so bad that it's lethal or gonna, you know, wind up being,
Sure.
you know, a,
News story or
right. So it's likely
ideally.
going to be a lesson, you know, a learning opportunity.
I mean, everything is.
So, you know,
Every bit of anxiety, every bit of sorrow, every
not
bit of anger is a
not
lesson.
robbing somebody of the opportunity to learn something themselves.
Mm.
And you know, that's a hard lesson to learn, when we're further along in recovery, is watching those little mistakes happen, and not necessarily
Swooping in to save the day.
right.
Or unnecessarily shitting on them for being in that situation.
Right, because, you know,
It's actually a really fine line to toe for me in certain situations. Like, I deal with a number of people, maybe not daily, but often enough where it's the cycle of, are you really? What do you think I'm going to say?
Yeah.
And like wanting to be like, okay, no, I'll help you do this, and then also being like, and it's just, you know, sometimes
Yep. Yeah. It's
I don't like being in that cycle sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. It's it's always there's always something to learn, man. And
There is.
you
Well,
know,
and there's some great teachers out there if you just, you know, stick to your boundaries and watch it
yeah.
unfold, and
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is.
I'm enjoying the process. Like that I think is why some of the folks that I know with a lot more clean time than I have always maintained that they learn just as much from the folks that are new in recovery.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, I mean, people ask me why I want to be around it, and it's like,
because that it teaches you how to
Yeah.
have time.
yeah,
It teaches you how to have patience with people that are new. Like, you know,
It's,
I'm always learning something on how to be the person with more time
right.
and how to be a mentor. Like, I don't know, man. I'm figuring this out too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was always the new guy
Yeah.
until I wasn't.
Always and always and always.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
it's a
and
weird
so-
it's weird
So now I'm the guy with, you know, almost 4 years now, and
yeah,
so now it's
we're
like
almost there.
okay, I guess that means I'm not new, but I still feel like the new guy.
Well,
like, you know,
It
so
reminds me a lot of like when I was a younger teenager or whatever. You know, my dad, who was probably about my age when I remember him saying this, he was like, the thing about it is that you don't ever feel older. You just look older in the mirror.
yeah,
And I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, because I was struggling with this, like, thought that one day we were, like, I was going to just magically be an adult. I was going to be
Yeah.
a grown-up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not true for those of you out there watching.
Yeah.
You just wake up one day, and it's like this morning, I'm brushing my hair, and it's over here. There's a streak of gray all the way down through my hair right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wild. You know what I mean? Like, what do you, because now I'm that age, and now like there was no switch there, like, and now I'm like I never got any older in my head. I
Yeah.
just got older physically, and it's a very strange thing to process. And I feel like we're being, one of my like three and some change years in, I'm like, um it's kind of much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody asked me the other day, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I get up and I go get up. I go to work. I meditate. I stretch. I work out. I go to a meeting once a week, twice a week, and then that's it, man. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I'm doing the same thing you are, just for longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yep.
there's no secret.
Yep. Yeah. I just
I
have
mean,
been doing it a few more days. That's it.
the look of horror on everybody's face last night when I said today. Did you see that? Because like I was making the reference when we were talking about clean time, and I was making the reference to today's I'm sober today,
Yeah.
and like the way I said it, like that woman who was across was like, and like everybody kind of paused and looked at me like, what do you mean today?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I realized that the inflection in my tone in my voice wasn't appropriate for what I was trying to convey. Because it sounded like I was like, yeah, I just got clean today. Which I would not immediately go in and I mean, I'd be like, Brett, you're jarring.
It's been said everybody's clock starts over at midnight. Whoever got up first has the longest clean time.
I love that and I hate that. I love it because it's exactly what I was saying to the newbie, where it's like, I'm not doing it any different than you are.
Right.
Just with more experience, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's my ego stepping in and being like, yeah, bro, you have so much more time than that kid. And
Ego's the enemy, man.
I know, I'm aware. That's why I immediately identified it and called myself out for it.
That's on my next batch of books too, by the way.
Because that's
Ego is the enemy.
that's the concept.
right.
So which one are you reading first?
Um,
The Marcus Aurelius
Meditations. Yeah, the Gregory Hayes translation.
Okay. When are you gonna be done with it?
Whenever I get through the last page.
I mean, I don't know why I expected a different answer. So when you're done with it, you'll let me know so that I can read it and then we can have a conversation on film about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
After I get done reading it the first time, I'll let you read it, and then the second time through, I'll break out my 3x5 note cards, and I'll have.
Yeah, we can have a whole conversation about it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be therapeutic for both of us.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Along with the JFT, I also read the daily entry from the Daily Stoic.
mm-hmm.
That's
I don't think they can see what books they are on the camera up there. So
I've got the pictures on the Instagrams and on the, on the Facebook of all the new books.
On the gram, as the kids say.
Is that a thing?
You risen on the gram.
Okay.
I was out to dinner with a friend once, and I went to the bathroom, and there was this kid, and you know how I dress, so I'm like brand new white shoes, la la la, and there's this kid just like staring at me, right? She's like, that kid's staring at you, and I'm like, yeah, dude, he definitely sees how fresh my drip is. She was like, the fuck does that mean? I'm like, the Riz. Oh, I'm a terrible person. I don't think I'm terrible. It's just, why? How is it I'm so up on what the kids say? Is it because I have a teenage daughter?
I don't know.
I finally got her to stop calling me chat. Yeah, she was like referring to me as chat as we were having conversations like all last summer. And I was like, I swear to God, child. Yeah, I'm like, you don't even have a Twitch, you don't stream. Why are you referring to me as chat? And I guess that's what her and her friends do. They refer to him as chat and twin and all these other strange things that she says to me. And then I start saying them because I spend all that time with her. And
Cool.
I watch Fortnite videos, but you know,
Cool.
yeah, I guess that's it. What are your plans coming up? What do you got on deck besides us reading these books?
Christmas at Pops tomorrow.
You doing anything fun Christmas Day?
I mean, day off. Probably spending it with the lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, every day's a day off when you're a podcaster, according to what somebody told me on the internet.
I don't know about that.
I so disagree with that.
I don't know about that.
Anyway,
I got a lot of work to do on the new segment that I'm gonna do.
mm-hmm.
Floating a couple ideas for the title.
What's that?
Well, I'm close on what I want to call it. I think it's gonna be either ancient wisdom, modern recovery, or ancient philosophy, modern recovery.
Isn't the plan to read some newer stuff though too?
I mean, most of it's pretty old, though. Like, I mean, and by pretty much any kind of like standards, ancient is a fairly accurate term.
Okay.
Like,
what is ancient? Is it 1,000+ years? Is that what's
I
considered
don't know.
ancient?
I mean, it's
I guess I think
several lifetimes
okay.
easily.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean that's fair. I mean, we're talking like
it's many generations.
at least 25
like,
generations,
like,
right?
like none of my.
How long is a generation?
I don't
25
know.
years, 30 years.
I have no idea, man.
I mean, we were
lots
Gen
and
Y,
lots and
now
lots of
we're
years.
Gen Z, and I'm not Gen Z. Am I millennial?
Lots and lots and lots of years old.
That's fair.
So, but I mean, like Stoicism is like 2,000+ years old.
Yeah. Well, and I saw the Tao Te Ching in there somewhere too,
Yeah.
and that's like 900 years older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
No, that's got to be like right at turn of the Common Era, right? Am I thinking? Am I thinking?
Tao Te Ching is like BC.
Yeah.
easily.
Well, that's fine, but like right at the like 2000, like 2,000, 2,500 years old,
Yeah.
something like that.
I mean, so like.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I had the I Ching, that whole giant tome. I almost read all the way through it, and then I let a woman borrow it from IOP in Michigan, and then I still, by the way, if you're watching this, I still have your tarot cards, and I will trade them back for the I Ching if she still has it. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you got planned?
I am gonna go home today and spend some time putting this together. I've found joy in editing. I really, really enjoy it. And then let's see. Tomorrow I may go back and work on my aunt and uncle's house. I may not. Sunday I probably definitely will. And then I think, you know, I'm just gonna hang out mostly. I don't get the kids until the 26th, so that's next Friday, I think, or is it next Thursday? It's one or the other. So yeah, I think for Christmas, I'm just gonna pretend it's not Christmas, which honestly is all I could ask for Christmas.
Nice. Easy
to not
shop
have
for.
to participate in anything. It's pretty glorious. I think that I have a number of friends who are in similar situations where they're not getting their kids till the next day. So I might start up a giant Discord call with like 3, 4 people who I know are gonna be all alone for the holiday, and see what happens.
Nice.
We all just sit around and shoot the poop.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Pretty good. Merry Christmas, everyone, or Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna cancel you either way.
Yeah. Definitely not.
I do not care. Yeah, I think that's probably good, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
dig it.
if you guys have made it this far, we sure could use a like on this. If you haven't subscribed, you could do so already. And if you hit that notification bell,
Yeah.
it'll
Free way to help the channel.
it'll let you know when we drop new content. Which, hopefully I'll be back to daily uploads of shorts. I think they're funny. So, if you guys want to comment on them, whether or not you think I'm funny, or Brett's funny, or any of it's funny, or just comment in general. Love, hate. Otherwise, I don't really care. I can take it.
Funny, helpful, otherwise. Any of the
Tell
stuff.
us what you want. We'll do whatever you want. Creatively bankrupt.
That's sort of accurate.
I mean, it's not completely accurate, but I mean, if somebody comes with a good idea, I don't see why we wouldn't.
We will entertain
Yeah, I mean,
quality ideas.
I said good. I didn't say an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, come with those two because I want to be entertained.
Yes.
Yes, 100%. Anyway,
All right.
love you guys.